Hey, what's going on, Steemit? This is Luke Stokes. It is Friday. Actually, I was hoping to do more videos like this, and I realized it's been a week since I did the last one, so I will try to do them more often as I can. I also need to get to my business and get to work. But I wanted to do a quick video on a couple things. I want to talk a little bit about nonviolent communication, whale bashing, expectations, and quitting your job. So I'm a big fan of nonviolent communication. In a summary, nonviolent communication is the idea that violence is a tragic expression of an unmet need. So someone has a need, they don't know how to communicate it well, so it gets expressed very tragically. And that's what violence is. Now with NVC, there's also a concept of violent language. And a lot of that has to do with judgments, where you're basically making a claim about what someone else's motives are or what they're attempting to do, as opposed to saying, I have needs and I'm going to communicate those. So for example, you could say, you're judging me. And it's like, no, I actually feel like I feel sad, or I feel angry, or you feel a real emotion, and you have a need that's not being met. Like I have a need to have my intentions known, for example. And so instead of saying, you're judging me, you'd say, I have a need for my intentions as I see them to be understood and known. And you seem to be, that seems to be being missed. What you're describing to me isn't in alignment with what I feel my needs are. So, saying you're judging me is a judgment, even in itself. So that's just an example. There's a bunch of great content about nonviolent communication on the internet. If you want to search for Marshall Rosenberg on YouTube, there's a ton of videos there. Actually, my second post on Steemit was about NVC. It's really cool. So considering Dan the Man's recent post about what his life mission is to improve the world, it got me thinking about NVC again. And also thinking about the whales in general, Dan himself, and what I'm seeing on Steemit and in the Steam chat sometimes, it frustrates me a little bit. I get a little frustrated because I see a lot of whale bashing where people are just like, the whales should not be powering down. They shouldn't be dumping so much steam on the market. They're this, 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 and this. And again, a lot of judgments, a lot of judgmental language, claiming to know the motives of those people and what they're trying to accomplish. So a friend of mine I posted on Facebook a little while ago, and I'm at Be Stoked on Facebook if you want to check it out. I post everything publicly. But I posted there, why aren't you on Steemit? And I got a lot of really cool conversations, really cool responses. Some of them were surprising, where people are just like, it's boring, I don't get it. Looks like people sharing blog posts. I'm like, okay. I mean, some good feedback. Some people like, Reddit clone, who cares? So I had to kind of go a little deeper, explain, the philosophy behind it, why I think it's so amazing and revolutionary. But one of my friends posted a lot of judgments about the motives of the founders, and it just again reminded me of what I've been seeing. And so let's take one example, the dumping on the market, as people are saying. I think yesterday it was like 50 grand Dan and Ned put out on the market supposedly. And they've openly stated what their intention is. We are going to sell a portion of our Steem that we pre-mined, as some claim, or early mined, in order to distribute the currency and raise funds to support the business, as opposed to doing a normal stock offering. That's what their plan is. So that means the price is going to go every time that they do that. And this is known. This shouldn't be a surprise. And I hear people saying, well, they're just, they're not being rational actors. They should be thinking about the long term. And I think, honestly, those are emotional responses. I think people are commenting out of their own internal needs, saying, oh man, I need the value of Steem to stay high because of my own expectations. I want to make money with this system in the short term. And again, I think they're thinking long term. If the price goes to 10 cents, they may be fine with that. I've seen Bitcoin go to all kinds of crazy prices. But I know eventually, at least I think, where it's going to go. And I think I've been proven right for the last few years that the value, look at it, just pick a certain date, and year by year, it's generally going up. And that's pretty amazing. So I think that they are being rational actors. They do want to distribute Steem. If it's like a funnel, Steemit is a funnel. It's a cryptocurrency funnel. If they don't get it out there, they will be holding millions of worthless tokens. That's not their goal. They want to have something that people value. So they have to get it out there, and that is going to impact the market. So these judgments about they shouldn't do that or they should, you can have your opinion. That's awesome. But the moment that your opinion goes beyond your opinion saying they should do this or they shouldn't do this or they're trying to, well, now you're describing their intentions and their motives. You don't know. You don't know mine. Sometimes I don't even know my own intentions and motives very clearly. So it's something I just wanted to bring up to say, hey, maybe that's not the most effective way to have a great dialogue. I think it's fine to address it and say, hey, I have the feeling, it seems to me, I perceive that this is what's happening and that it's destructive for the network. What do you think? Do you perceive your actions as being beneficial or destructive? Do you care? You know, I've been doing the exchange transfer report every week, kind of showing who is transferring out to exchanges. I feel like that's kind of been my response to it. Just say, hey, let's have some visibility on this so we can know who's putting money where and let the community talk about it. And I've stated very clearly in my very first post on that series of, these are my assumptions. I'm going to put them out there and make it clear they're just my assumptions and impressions. But I'm not bashing anyone who is cashing out. I love this platform. I'm so excited. To me, everything that comes in is a gift that I get. I have no expectations that I'm going to make a ton of money, you know, with this. All this stuff I didn't have before, and now I have, thanks to Steemit. So I'm excited about that. And yes, I did invest a little bit, so I'd love to see a return on that investment. That would be nice. So that kind of brings me to the other point I want to talk about as far as expectations. I had a really good conversation with Jed, Jed AU, and I want to make sure I get that right. And he may not, Jed AU, he may not be on Steemit anymore, so it may not matter. But if he comes back, you should definitely follow him. He's got some really interesting ideas. He's someone that actually worked for me at FoxyCard, and I didn't realize that. And so he was on at Steemit, and we missed each other, but he commented on a Facebook post, that one I mentioned about why aren't you on Steemit, and we had a long, interesting dialogue in his latest post, his Introduce Yourself post, which is ironically enough kind of his last post. Anyway, if you want to see that, very long, detailed back and forth conversation, but it got me again thinking about expectations. There are people, in my opinion, my subjective opinion, that have really, really high expectations about what Steemit makes possible for them, about the level of engagement they expect, the number of votes they're going to get, the number of comments, the value of their efforts that they put in, almost like a labor theory of value thing, like I worked really hard, so therefore it should be worth a lot. Or I'm going to do a comparison thing and say that person seems to have, done something about as similar as I did, but they made a whole lot more money and I didn't, so there's a problem. Well, again, read the white paper, it's a lotto. Like, it's not supposed to be this 1=1 reward for a objective value, if there even is such a thing. So it's a lotto. You might get lucky, you might not. Look through my blog. There's like the follower count report and the exchange transfer report. It's basically the same data. I've had some of those go $300, some go $40, some go $2. Again, it's all a gift. $2 is better than 0 cents I ever got from Twitter or Facebook, so I'm okay with it. But it's just this idea that our expectations determine our own well-being. If we're expecting a whole bunch of awesomeness and it doesn't happen, then we're going to be depressed, we're going to be sad, we're going to be frustrated, we're going to be angry, and sometimes we lash out in a tragic expression of that need we created for ourselves that was unmet. And that's violence, that's bad. So the idea of controlling our own expectations is really important, I think, and figuring out what's reasonable, what's logical, what's rational based on the evidence, and adjusting our emotional response. I believe in neuroplasticity. I believe we can actually change our thinking through pattern building and habit forming and things like that. So if we set up expectations in a way where they just can't ever be met, we're just always going to be discouraged. And who wants to live like that? And again, negative emotions have their place and they're valuable at times, but the ongoing goal, I would imagine, is to increase your well-being. That's what we do as a species. So I get a little sad when I see these expectations that are just kind of setting people up for failure. So the power of expectations, I have a post I wanted to do on that. I will at some point, but they're really powerful, especially relationally, especially in your marriage. Like, frustration comes from generally two things. One, you had an expectation that you didn't communicate, so clearly it's not going to get met and it's going to cause frustration. Or two, you had an expectation that you did communicate and it didn't get met, Now, why it didn't get met, that's a whole nother topic. Maybe it was a radically irrational expectation. Maybe it was perfectly normal and the person kind of screwed you over, and like you counted on them, you trusted them, and they let you down, your needs weren't met, and that's another discussion. Maybe it's just a matter of, we're here. My expectation's here, your ability to deliver is here, and we need to compromise and adjust and find some balance. So that's a quick preview of something I've been thinking about for a while. The power of expectations, super important. Finally, I've seen people say, man, I'm quitting my job, I'm going Steemit full time, roar. And some of them are getting voted up real high, and I'm like, ooh, scary. I run my own business. I bootstrapped it for 4 years, working a full-time job, working late, 1, 2 in the morning. And so I know what it, and I've been doing that full-time job now for that business for 5 years now. So it's 9 years total for that was bootstrapped, and so I know what is needed to successfully launch a full-time business. It has to be based on reason, logic, evidence. You can't jump into these things emotionally without causing lots of harm for yourself and your family. Like I saved money. I was prepared. I had a recurring revenue model business that was guaranteed to bring in X amount of money every month. These are things I did to prepare for that change. So when I see people talking about doing that with Steemit, I have to wonder, have you been in cryptocurrency long? Like, do you know how these things go? It's gonna be volatile. Like, what happens if Steemit goes to a nickel? It might happen. Like, we don't know. We've seen altcoins go all over the place. Get all excited and go up and then just crash and be ignored for a year or more. I think long-term Steemit's going to be great, but short-term, it's a fringe investment, highly speculative, not something that you want to base on, the well-being of yourself or your family, in my opinion. Yeah, hooray for the risk takers, but generally they're also very reasoned, and they're thinking through the right time to make those risks. So I know a lot of people are augmenting their income. They've got part-time jobs. That's awesome. That's great. And definitely, I think that's fantastic. I would love to be able to spend more time on Steemit. I've already spent probably too much time as it is, and I gotta focus on my business. But like, it's awesome to see. I mean, again, I'm super excited about the passion. I'm super excited about the great tools that people are building. I think it's amazing, and I would love to see people be fully funded by Steemit. I did a post on the universal basic income and how that concept could potentially even be powered by Steemit without government coercion and force and theft. Like, that's awesome. I love it. I think it's going to take some time, if it happens at all. It's going to take a long time, potentially. So just kind of putting it out there, a word of caution from someone who's been there and done it. Go about these things slowly. If you're going to jump into a full-time gig for yourself, have a savings account set up that you can live off of. Have a backup plan. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have a backup plan." No, have a backup plan. Like, this is your well-being. Like, these mistakes can cost you your house. I should do a post on it, but when I was in high school, I lost my house. Actually, I did a post on living out on a boat for 2 years because my parents didn't make the greatest financial decisions. My dad was also an entrepreneur, and he had a business, and it didn't end up panning out. So that's my word of caution, said with love, but understand it's going to be volatile. And it would be really sad for me to see very influential members of the community doing very, very well for themselves now, have everything come down, and then again back to expectations, feel so discouraged because they had these expectations that they could build a business, and then they found out maybe they can't yet. And so on top of that too, like, if Steemit does get really big, guess what's going to happen? All the professionals are going to come in. The journalists, the news reporters, like people who are really good at this stuff. We're a teeny little pond right now. And so, yeah, we get noticed and it's cool. But man, once those people show up, we should adjust our expectations. If we get like any response, mainly probably just from our own followers, then that'll be cool. But like, if this becomes what we think it's going to be, the content's going to be amazing, and that's where people's votes are going to go naturally. That's where my votes are going to go. Why wouldn't I vote up what I feel is the best content on the site? And then, left over, I might have some voting power for my friends and stuff. Like, that's just probably how it's going to happen. So recognizing that, understanding that, as more and more celebrities come in and bring their following, they're going to get a massive amount of the votes, and that's understandable. Again, I'm not to judge the founders and their intentions, but I think it's rational to say we need to promote people who are going to promote the platform, because that benefits everyone on the platform, and that won't always work, as it's been pointed out before. Some people show up for a splash and leave. Other people continue contributing. So it's just, time will tell. We'll see. But anyway, those are my thoughts for, what is it, Friday, September 2nd. And thank you so much for listening. Thanks again for my followers. That's been really cool. I hope we can continue to build something awesome here, because I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it, and I'm having a great time. So I hope you appreciated that, and I'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend.